if you don't buy into it yourself, if you're not fully 100% bought in, why would anybody else be? I love when you ask me questions because it gives me perfect ideas for my content on YouTube. And a big question that I've been asked recently about marketing and branding and social media in 2019 is about how to build a personal brand. Now, you know, if you've been here a while, thank you. And if you're new here, welcome. Make sure that you hit that subscribe button and give me a raise hand or a comment below and let me know if you're feeling a little overwhelmed by the subject, by trying to stand out, get seen, and build a personal brand. If you are, just put yes in the comments below, and by the end of this video, I know I'm gonna be able to give you some actionable things that you can walk away and do to start building your brand, because keep in mind, I've been in your shoes. I started from scratch. I had no audience, no following just a couple years ago, and have really been able to build a personal brand that has opened up so many opportunities for me. I've been asked to speak all over the world. I have built a multi-million-dollar business. I have built an entire team around me, and that's what I want to help you start doing. And the thing for me, which should give you a lot of hope, is that I kind of started by accident and I kind of fell into all of it and I really didn't know what I was doing. So I've learned a lot. And these are the golden nuggets that I can share with you that will start to make a big difference for you immediately. So we're gonna dive into some very simple action items, some simple steps that you can start doing right away as soon as you finish watching this video. And I can't wait to see how it goes for you guys. The first thing, and probably the most popular question that you ask, is which platform do I use, and should I be growing all of them at once? And my big, bold answer to that is no. Do not try and grow everything at once. If you're trying to grow everything at once, nothing's gonna grow at all. And that's just the honest feedback that I have for you at this point. When I was first starting on social media, there was really only Twitter and Facebook. Instagram wasn't a thing. YouTube was around too, but those are the main two players that everyone was really using. And so it was easy to kind of be on everything. But now there's so many platforms and there's so many nuances and things you need to know about these platforms in order to really succeed. So my best advice for you, and the really secret sauce of anyone that you follow who's made it really big, is they picked one platform and stuck with it. So my first piece of advice is pick one thing and stick with it. If I tried to grow YouTube, my podcast, my Instagram, my Twitter, my Facebook at the same time, you wouldn't be watching me right now. There is no way that I could grow everything at once. It's just too difficult, especially when you're a one-woman show or a one-man show. And be honest in the comments, let me know, are you doing this solo? Because if you are, there's no shame in that. And I did that for years, and I did not have the bandwidth to do everything well. So I chose YouTube. And the reason I chose YouTube, and this is a takeaway for you as well, is because it played to my strengths. So I know that being on video is super easy for me. Why? Because I've been doing it for so long. I was a journalist before I even ventured into YouTube, and it's just something that comes naturally for me to talk to you like this. Writing is a lot more challenging for me. It's harder for me to sit down and write a blog post than it is for me to just talk to you. So what are your strengths? What comes the easiest to you? What's the easiest for you? And a really big clue of what kind of platform to pick is what kind of content do you consume the most? Are you listening to podcasts? Are you watching YouTube videos on a daily basis? Wherever you live and wherever you're consuming the most content, that's probably a good clue for how you want to get your content out there. So that's my first piece of advice. Pick one platform and stick to it. Now, you know I am biased to YouTube because of how it's grown my whole business and my brand, and it's been just an amazing tool for me because people are finding me even when I'm not creating content on here. And that's really the beauty of it, is that search functionality of people coming across my content all day, every day, and I'm not having to do more work. So that is one of my favorite bonuses of YouTube. Tip number 2 is educate. Pretty simple. it's really sharing the knowledge that you have. And similar to what I said earlier, you can't be an expert at everything at once. And so really to gain traction and momentum, and I say this a lot, you gotta niche down to blow up. And it feels crazy and counterintuitive to do that, but I'm telling you, it's the best way to succeed in 2019 when you're trying to build a personal brand. You want to be known for something. You want people to point at you and be like, oh, that's the girl who knows YouTube really well, or that's the girl who's an expert at food or fashion or whatever it might be. And the way that you gain expert status is to educate people and share your knowledge and your genius. So a really quick hack or something you can do right now is just start writing down all the things that you are really good at when it comes to your space. Being a generalist is the hardest way to succeed in building a brand in 2019 because nobody cares, unfortunately. You have to make people care. And the way to make people care is to give something of value. And the easiest way to give something of value is to teach people and to be an educator. And if you look at, again, all the big names out there, they're teaching in some way, shape, or form. And you're gonna start to notice it more and more now that I've planted that seed. So what can you teach? What are you really good at? Or what have you recently learned that you're really starting to master that you can then share with other people? For me, for example, when I was starting to learn YouTube, I didn't have it mastered, but I was starting to gain a lot of momentum. So I was sharing what was making a difference for me in real time. So if you're just starting to learn about food or fashion or blogging or whatever it might be, what are the things that you're learning and the little tricks and secrets that you're learning that you can then share? And I know it's hard to think of yourself as being an expert at that early phase, but the really great advantage that you have is that if someone's been doing this for a long time and they built a big, huge brand around a certain niche, they're not doing all of those new tricks and techniques and tools because they've got their system, they've figured it out. So if you can come across with something brand new that you're doing that's working, it's gonna gain a lot of attention for you because it's a fresh new concept and idea of how to really start growing and building. So that's an easy way to start educating in your niche or your space. The third thing is networking in your niche. So I know that you're probably watching and thinking, nobody knows who I am, I have no clout, I have no credibility, who's even gonna listen to me? You have to make people listen. That's the reality of it. So you make people listen by doing what I just said, which is educating people, but you also make people listen by actually activating conversations. So again, this is a trick that I used when I was first getting started. I started figuring out, okay, who are the people who are in this space that are doing a really great job, that have built really solid communities? I found them on every social platform. I followed them on all of the platforms that were out there. And then I started communicating with them, building relationships with them by adding value and sharing their content and doing things that were going to help them sort of notice me by not asking for anything, but adding value to them. So I shared their content, I would talk about their content, I'd respond to their questions, and then I would also interact with their communities. So the people in their communities who were asking more questions and who wanted to start conversations, because the reality is if channels have grown really big or platforms have grown really big, it's hard to get to every single content. It's hard to get to every single comment. So if you can start activating conversations with some of those comments that have been missed, it's a great way for you to start gaining recognition in that industry and space. Also, things like Facebook groups. Using Facebook groups to position yourself as the expert, to share your content, not in a spammy way, but if someone asks a question about what's the best restaurant in Vancouver and you happen to have a video on that topic, share that and say, well, I actually just made a video on this restaurant I just tried and it was so good. That's a great way for people to see your content and say, oh my gosh, well, that's gonna be my new go-to person about that subject. Random example, but you get what I'm saying. So things like Facebook groups and all of the social media platforms, following the people that you admire and then interacting with their communities in a way that's providing value and helping is such a good way to start networking in your niche and start getting known as the go-to. The other thing, great resource, and I know there's a lot of other people who might have mentioned this, but meetup.com is such a great place to go when you're first getting started. So believe it or not, you can also talk to people offline. And if you want to do that, you can go to meetup.com and search things like social media. and it will bring up any event in Vancouver and create alerts for you, or in any city that you're in, to say this event, this networking gathering is happening about social media at this place at this time. There you go. Go attend that, meet people in real life, talk to people in real life, share what you're doing. That starts to build your recognition as well as the person who is becoming the expert in this niche. And the fourth thing to start building your brand in 2019, again, is about being proactive, not reactive. If you're sitting there waiting for someone to recognize you and give you a break, you're gonna be waiting a long time, because everyone out there is hustling for this. There are people who are working way harder than you are. So when you're starting out and you're trying to gain that personal brand and that recognition, you gotta go after it with all you've got. So one of the things that I did in the very beginning was pitching myself. So I would basically find all of the podcasts that I wanted to be on that were at my level. I wasn't unrealistic in thinking I was gonna be on these huge podcasts when nobody even knew who I was. But here's the amazing thing about 2019. Everybody's got a podcast. Everybody's got a YouTube channel. Everybody's got a blog. So in reality, you can find people who are also just starting out and do sort of a trade and be like, hey, I have this amazing value I can bring to your audience on this topic. I've already written the post, let me know what you think. Or I've already got this training I can do on your podcast for your audience for this topic, and here's the proof of my results, whatever it might be. That's where you start. You start by saying, I've got this already for you. I'm hand delivering you content to put on your podcast, your blog, your YouTube channel, whatever it may be. And all I have to do is show up, and all you have to do is just interview me or allow me the space to do it. When you come with value, it's really hard for people to say no, especially when people are just starting out and they're trying to figure out what kind of content to post. So when you start networking in your niche and you do everything that I mentioned in step 3, that's when you can figure out, okay, who has an outlet that you can then start guest posting on, or doing a podcast for them, or creating some piece of content for them, and just keep pitching. And I would pitch like hundreds and maybe get one. So that's the reality. But once you get one, you can then say, I was featured on X site. And even if it's not a big name site, at least someone trusted you enough as an expert to be on their site. And that gives you that credibility. That gives you that sense of, okay, well, they must know what they're talking about if someone else trusted them to do that. So pitch yourself. It might feel awkward, but it works. And pitch yourself to people who are in a realistic realm to you and have a similar size audience to you, because that's how you really start to grow. And the people that I started collaborating with when I first started out, we both had no audience, we've grown together. One person actually, who you guys know as well, is Sean Cannell, who has been a friend since we both started our channels, and we have both collaborated with each other since day one. And we continue to grow together, which is a really, really cool thing. So it's less about competing with people who are in your space who are at the same level as you. It's more about, how can I help you and how can we help each other? And that is the best, most sustainable way to grow. Number 5, super, super important. You gotta claim it. Whatever it is that you're trying to build your personal brand around, claim that. Whether you are a fashion blogger or a foodie or a Pinterest expert, whatever it may be, if you don't claim it first, why would anyone else believe you? You can quote me on that. Feel free to tweet that out. But it's the truth, because if you don't buy into it yourself, nobody else is gonna buy into it with you. So put that in your Instagram bio, put it in your Twitter bio, put it on your YouTube header. Wherever you have a platform, even if you're not actively using it, make sure it's there. And the other added bonus to that, in a very nerdy kind of way, is that it creates you as someone who's searchable. So if you go to my Instagram profile, you'll see that it says marketing expert or marketing strategist, I can't remember right now, but something about marketing. And the amount of people who find me on a daily basis because they're searching for marketing, it's crazy. So if you put that in there, you're gonna start to get more followers and more of an audience building around you that's super targeted to what it is that you're gonna be sharing, which will increase your engagement. See, got kind of nerdy on you guys and went down a bit of a rabbit hole. I tend to do that. But that's the nerdy element of why you wanna do it and the technical element of why you wanna do it. But on another level, the moment you really start believing it and you really start buying into this personal brand you're trying to build is the moment when things will start to shift, and when everyone else around you will also start to buy into it with you. Let me know what you guys thought about this video, and if you want me to continue answering these kinds of questions that you're sending me on Instagram and all over the place on my YouTube channel, because it's a lot of fun for me to do and pretty easy because I've been doing this for a little bit. So if you enjoyed it, if it was helpful for you, let me know in the comments below. Make sure that you subscribe for new videos every single week. I'm here to help you guys, to serve you guys, and to help you build the businesses that you really are excited about, the brands that you're excited about, and truthfully, a life that you're excited about as well. So give it a like if you liked it. Let me know in the comments. Be sure to subscribe. And if there's someone that you know who's really interested in building their personal brand this year, or that you think needs to, make sure you share this video with them as well. And tag me on your Insta stories once you've watched this, or tag me on Instagram or Twitter, and I'll be sure to share your feedback too. I love seeing that from you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next episode.